welcome back to another episode of Dada Next Door. I'm your host, Annie Agesa, as always. And if you're joining us for the first time, karibuni sana Dada Next Door. We are the podcast that showcases amazing raw talent. We display the efforts made when art and activism are brought together. And of course, we go a step further to highlight the amazing, incredible women who are at the forefront of using their platform and their art to actually activate social change. And as you know, we never miss with the guests that we invite. We have the cool ones, we have the fun ones, we have the learned ones, and today we have a teacher. Yeah, msiogope. Her name is Eunice Kamau. She said, let me tell you what she told me. She said she's a teacher by profession, an artist by passion, and a humanitarian at heart. Makofi.
The roses are mine.
The roses are yours. Karibu sana to the show, Eunice.
Thank you, Annie, for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. And I'm glad to talk to you and maybe engage more on the three most definitions at heart when it comes to who Eunice is. Ooh. So, yes, as she has said, I'm a teacher by profession, an artist by passion, and a humanitarian at heart. Wow. And I think she has just made me think if what is, in terms of priority, what comes first. So I think now first is humanitarian, second artist, and teacher somewhere there.
Oops, somewhere there. I hope your students are not watching.
No, I love them. Yeah. Teaching and my students, they are two different things, but I love my students. So if you're watching this, yeah.
But you know what? The interesting thing is being a teacher is such a calling. It's such a... It makes sense that you as a humanitarian and as an artist who happens to be a writer, or a writer who happens to be an artist, which is it makes sense that you're a teacher as well. I feel like it comes together.
Wow, you're making me think how interrelated the three are.
Yeah, how are they? Which one affects the other one? Zinashikiliana aje?
Maybe in my writing, teaching plays a role. Because when my passion is, when it comes to writing, is on teenage. And now being a teacher, I'm a teacher of teenage students. So those is both boys and girls. So maybe my experiences with them influence my writing.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And my humanitarian part, as I go out to the society, to communities, and doing various humanitarian activities, I also get to interact with people, to see real challenges. So also that affects how I write. So in a way, they are interrelated. So they manifest well in me. So each one of the three has a role in the other. So
yeah,
they enrich my writing. So I think the two come together in my writing.
Okay. Yeah. So these three parts are a whole Eunice.
Yes.
Yes and no. You look like you have a but. Yes, but. What else are we leaving out? What else is Eunice that we are leaving out?
In all this, I think outwardly, that is what most of, if you ask, like now my students or my colleagues, I'm a teacher.
Yeah.
When it comes to writings, I have maybe peers, or I would like to call them peers in writing. So those whom I share my work with, they will read it through, they will give criticism about it, both positive and
otherwise.
Yes. And then we have
your humanitarian work.
My humanitarian work. So there are those now. I'm a member of an organization that does a lot of humanitarian activities.
Yeah.
So yes, in other capacities, I think there are people who do not know I'm a teacher. They will see me as a humanitarian. I will go out maybe in children's centers. When it comes to environmental activities, maybe tree planting, educating people on the importance of environment or taking care of our environment. So I think depending on where you find me, maybe I'm wearing a different hat.
Oh, it's just what you see from where you stand.
Yeah, so
Okay, I like that. We're going to talk more about your humanitarian work very soon because it's very cool. She's part of the, tell me if I'm saying it correctly, Rotary Clubs of Kenya. What do I call it? Rotary?
No, Rotary is known as
of Kenya.
Rotary International is the organization, the umbrella body. But then there are various now Rotary clubs across the world, which now Kenya is part of that. But when it comes specifically to Rotary, just to set this record straight, Kenya is part of District 9212 under Rotary International, and that comprises of Kenya, Ethiopia, Eritrea, and South Sudan.
Or you said district?
9212, 9212.
Okay.
Yes.
Hey, she knows her stuff. Did you hear that? She said 9212 and we were floating. We're going to get back to that. So, actually, before we go far, you haven't done our fun activity for introducing yourself.
Wow.
Today we want to know if you were a fruit, which fruit would you be and why? That's what we're going for. If you were a fruit, which fruit would you be and why?
I would go for watermelon.
Ooh.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I know politically that might be.
That's not political. It sounds sus now.
But no, I'll go for watermelon because it's one of the fruits when it's very, very hot. It has a taste and then it quenches your thirst. So I would want to think of myself as the person, maybe my friends, my peers, my families would come to me when it's so hot in their seat and they just need refuge. So quench their thirst and there will be that nice sweet
Cool
taste.
watermelon.
Yeah, and have you seen the color? It's on point.
It's just right.
So
Good answer. You pass. We can move on.
a teacher would have graded maybe an A plus.
Oh, you want me to grade you A, teacher Leo and your student? I'm gonna give you.
Don't be mean.
I'm gonna 91% ni A plus.
That is, it's an A.
It's an A.
There's no A plus though in our grading
Kumbe
system.
me mislead over here. You're just misleading me, but still 91% is good.
That is nice. I'll take that. True, I have a very nice certificate. Thank you.
So tell us about your writing. What we're most interested about is your writing, actually. So Eunice has written a book and self-published it as well. It's called A Girl Lost in Her Own World. So we want to talk more about it, maybe what mindset you were in writing it and who you were targeting, what you wanted them to learn or get from it. Are those too many questions?
No, actually, I think it's because it's all a story of how the book came about.
Perfect. Tell us.
So, as the title suggests, A Girl Lost in Her Own World is the target audience specifically a girl and specifically teenagers. So, how I came about the book. First, so many people, maybe those who know me well, will say I'm a storyteller. So I grew up, my dad saying, you tell a lot of stories. And then, it was in a destructive kind of way because I would make others not work because I'm just there entertaining them with my stories. So he didn't say that as a compliment, rather as a reprimand. But
you were always on the noisemakers list. I'm seeing you.
Yeah, I actually, if I miss school, I'll still appear on the on the noisemakers list. So, but also me and my dad, we share that in common. So when we are not working, we'll talk. I think he's one of the people I can spend the whole night talking and never get tired. So as much as he didn't like it, sometimes he also enjoyed it. Up to date, we still enjoy that part in common. So I progressed when I was in high school. my love for reading was born at that point, was the school emphasized more on the reading culture. We had a very well-equipped library, so if I had done my assignments, I had free time, my place was the library. So I read almost every book in that library until now my section was coming soon. So they used to have a shelf for the new books. So I used to go there and then I'll be with the librarian. Even before they are numbered or they are catalogued, I'm just there booking one. Wow. So in a notice side, I had several library cards. Yeah, that was not allowed. But
you did?
so that is where now my love for reading came about. So and then we got to upper like the candidate classes where in our curriculum you have to do the set books. So I would read these books way ahead of the rest, and then those who were not like for a better word, they were easy in reading. So I used to tell now the book, like I would narrate it back. Yes, and when I decided to be naughty, I would add a chapter in between. So
a fake chapter.
Yeah. So until one of my friends were like, Eunice, have you ever thought of writing? I think that was when the first idea of writing came about.
She was literally an audiobook, guys. She would narrate it like an audiobook and add her own chapters. Imagine reading River and the Source and realizing chapter 7 wasn't there. Eunice is the one who added it.
Imagine. Okay, that's for perjury. I've not written anyone's book. It was just verbal. I am for a lawsuit. I'm not.
We promise there's no record.
But I enjoyed that. So, and then that reading of set books came with writing of essays. And then I mastered the art so well. So our teacher used to have this tradition. Whenever she's giving back the papers to us for an exam, she would withhold the best written essay. And then, so I used to look forward to that because mine would always be the best. So then it would be read aloud in class for others to learn how to write an essay.
She was the marking scheme guy.
Imagine.
Oh, that's nice.
So now clearing high school, I was like, maybe there's that always like a gap between clearing high school and joining colleges and universities. I think it feels like a point of confusion. Like you really don't know what next in life. So that is when now I first started to write. So I started writing manually,
like
pen and paper, and I'm writing down my thoughts.
Classic.
And then so I wrote, and I think when I started writing, the theme, why a book about a girl was because that is what I resonated most with. I am a girl. So I had, in my teenagehood, I struggled a lot with role models, people to look up to. At the same time, during adolescence, when there are so many changes, physical, emotional, psychological, I didn't have a safe net or a person I could run to.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, mom was there, but teenagers and their mothers, there's no...
That's the one time you just somehow don't get along.
Yeah, me and my mom, we fought in my teenage years. Because I felt like she didn't understand what I was going through. Yeah. And I also, due to generational gap, there are things that maybe were normal during my growing up years, but in her ears, that was something absurd. So I think, just to mention one, I think one of my biggest fights with her came on the issue of wearing trousers. I think it sounds funny or weird. But now, I'm growing at an era where it is okay for girls to wear trousers, but my mom stands for it's wrong. Like for her, she grew up wearing long skirts, no slit. So you can imagine the transition from a skirt with no slit to trousers. Yeah. And not only trousers, then there were hipsters. I think those were the fashion at that time.
If she came to Nairobi city around this time, with the same mindset, she would be in shock. Actually, we don't want her to be in shock.
Now she's better.
Yeah,
She also
you have to accept
educated
the times.
herself
Yeah, you have
with
to
the time.
accept the times.
But that was my biggest fight that almost made me leave home, because when I bought my first rosa and I wore
You
it,
are a rebel.
and I wore it, and when she wasn't home, but by the time I'm coming back home, she was there. So there was no way of getting into the house without her knowing. So yeah,
No
so
pressure.
it was crazy.
Yeah. So like approaching your mom with some of the problems you were going through while you were growing up.
Yeah, no.
It wasn't really your first option, let's say.
It wasn't even an option. Not even first or second. It wasn't an option.
So
And
that
then
was partly your goal with the book.
yes. So the purpose of the book was to reach another girl. Actually, I was just writing for one specific girl. I don't know who she is, but I was like, if only my experiences could touch another girl somewhere who is struggling with what I was struggling with, maybe I would have achieved my goal. So for me, I was just writing for one girl. That one girl who grew up in a similar environment as mine. And some of the things that I struggled with was obvious, like the physical changes. Now people stop seeing you as a child. Now they want to term you an adult. So I was like, when did I stop being a child?
Yeah, like when did I cross that line?
Yeah.
No one informed me.
I don't know up until now if there's a specific age where someone stops to be a child and now they are adult. So I struggled with that a lot. I was like, and then obvious one of the people, my mom, I remember saying, "No, you're no longer a child." And I'm like, when did I stop from being a child?
I'm just a baby.
Yeah. So that I think the transition. So and then at that age when now you have the secondary sexual characteristics, so you also attract other attentions, like from young men, older men, any type of man anyway, in the society that we're living in. So how do I respond to this? And I grew up in a village setup where I'd seen so many girls drop out of school due to pregnancy. Some had been married off, others never got to be married, like they just became single mothers and their education came to an end at that point. So I needed to save just one more girl from the pride of early pregnancies and dropping out of school. So I think that is what actually really inspired me. Like I was just like, I can just write a story. At the same time, I also understood I don't have answers to all these issues that the girls are going through.
Right.
So what I did now, I created a character. So I created a teenage character who goes through this teenage life and experiences some of the challenges and how she goes about them. So I don't purport to actually how she went through it is the only right way. I believe people have different ways of going through life.
Yeah.
But maybe through what my character went through, maybe someone else will
be able to relate.
Will relate, yes.
Okay.
And yeah, so that is how the book came out.
That's a really noble way to think about it. I love what you said, just one girl. I didn't write it for everyone, I just wrote it for that
just that one girl. And
beautiful. So you told me that you actually you ended up self-publishing the book.
Yeah.
It wasn't like through a major publisher or anything. That means you really had the drive to get this book out there with or without the gatekeepers.
Yes.
So how was it like? How challenging or fantastic is it to be a self-published writer?
So, yeah. Okay. Maybe what I didn't mention when I'm telling the story of writing.
Yeah.
After writing it with my pen and paper on a book, I wrote for a whole year, like between now high school. I cleared, okay, you might calculate my years, but it's okay.
Don't work backwards. Pretend you didn't hear.
So I cleared high school in 2012. So between 2012 December and joining campus in 2013 September, I did a lot of writing. But anyway, as I said, I come from the village, so things like computers, laptops were luxury, so I couldn't write. I couldn't type, yeah. So I wrote on a book.
You did your best with what you had.
Yes. So when I joined campus, fortunately or unfortunately, I lost my first manuscript.
Oh, you lost it? The
yes.
whole thing?
the whole thing. I had written chapter 1 to chapter 6, and I lost it. So that was a setback. And in between, I won't go into details of this, but when I relate with Anne when she says the gatekeepers, because in that, I'm saying this because of any other person who is going through this, in the journey of publishing and generally in art, where women, you're seen first as a woman rather than what you carry. Like when I say I present myself somewhere, someone will see me, this is a woman, before they see a teacher, a humanitarian, or a writer. So the first person I talk, my mom really supported this journey. So when I shared I'm writing, she was like, how can I help? And I was like, there's this one writer, I will not mention the name, but I would really want to meet him because I loved his work. And mom moved mountains for me to meet the author. And it happened. And then, so after the first meeting, he was very kind to say, like, now we can have a mentor-mentee kind of a relationship, now where mom was no longer a middle person. So we would meet on intervals, and he had all these promises of the things he can help me do. He would read my work and give me feedback. So I was so optimistic.
That's nice.
And coming from the village, someone who is promising you, I'll take you to Nairobi, you meet all these big short writers, I'll take you to workshops and stuff. So I was like, this is it. Ooh. This is...
I'm seeing a loophole there though,
so I was like, I am going places. So when I joined campus, we were still in that mentor-mentee relationship. But what I didn't know is he was also a wolf in sheep's clothing.
He had ulterior motives.
Yes, because now when I'm home, when I'm meeting him from home, it meant I had a curfew ahead time, so maybe by 6 I'm back in the house. So there was no time like we could really, he could create extra time. But now joining campus, it means I'm away from home. So this way, if he wanted to meet me even at night or something, he could initiate it, and I didn't have maybe an alibi to say, oh, my mom will be angry or so. So in one of the meetups, after I think I was still the first semester in campus, you all know the story of freshers, and you're here innocent. Remember I wasn't allowed to wear trousers at home, so I'm still figuring out how.
Of the hipster.
So this is where I can wear now the trousers freely without my mom on my neck. So I'm feeling the freedom. But I think one of the lessons I had learned the hard way was knowing freedom comes with responsibility. Because with this freedom, I could really mess myself up, or I could make something out of it. So in one of the meetups, I had never taken any alcoholic drink at this moment. So he took me to a restaurant, bar, and so there were alcoholic drinks, soft drinks, and food. So I think it's a restaurant and a bar. So he ordered beer. I don't drink. So he is there, and now he took the first bottle, the second. So he kept on drinking. So he's getting drunk. I'm there taking my unwanted juice. Me, innocent girl there.
Little baby.
And he says,
oh my gosh.
So at some point, also his friends join him. Point to note, this man is older or the age of my dad. So
and he's been you guys have been linked by your mom.
By
like
my mom.
He knows your parents.
Yes. I'm still very young. Maybe that is when I was transitioning now to be an actual adult in a Kenyan constitution. So you can guess the age I was in at that moment. So as the time progressed, all this time he was not talking about my writing. I came here for a writing meeting, but now there's no writing.
It just became a social hangout.
Yes. So as time passed, I'm like, I'm in the wrong place and I need to get myself out of this situation. But how do I go about this? So the second red flag, apart from the drinking, was when his 2 other friends joined him. Now they also ordered beer, then now they are drinking, and one of them was making passes at me, want to do very inappropriate touching, and now I'm like, no,
I was
this
really
can't be
to get
happening.
out
I'm
of
like, I
here.
need to leave. So I just woke up. I stood up and I
Yeah.
told him, it has been good meeting you today, but I need to go home.
Yeah.
So I left. When I left, that killed my passion for writing in a way, because that was the person I think I felt like meeting him
Yeah,
meant
he
so
was
much.
like he was someone you looked up to.
Yes, and now this happens, and I'm like, before I left, I think the topic of us spending the night had already come up in that discussion.
No.
So I knew there was a hotel booked and so on, and I was like, this is not my space.
Nope.
So as a result of that, I never wrote for the next 4 years in campus. So that frustration
Yeah, I'm so sorry.
combined with losing the manuscript, I was
Yeah.
like, maybe God never wanted me to
Yeah,
write.
maybe
so.
this is a sign.
Yeah,
I'm
so-
so sorry you went through that. Just following your dreams.
Yeah, so I was like, I'm not going to write and I'm done with this. And then, so I went through campus, never writing again. I'm done. I think that is where I found my love for humanitarian, because I think I put my heart into something else. And I was like, maybe this was never for me. So after campus, I graduated in 2017. So it was like, I think something kept, as much as I was not writing, there was still that part. It was like, you still wanted to do
You
this.
need to use this creative part of your brain.
Yes, it was still nagging. Like, I wouldn't say people, I think someone asked me, did you choose that or did that choose you? I think for me, it chose me.
It chose you.
Because if I was choosing it, I was already done.
You stopped choosing it at this point.
Yeah, I was like, I'm done with you.
Because you're
It wasn't-
connecting it with the trauma of this experience.
This experience at the same time, so it was like, I don't also have the resources that maybe were needed and stuff. So I was like, this is. But now after graduating, that part was still like, you need to write. You need to go back to that and write. So I created, like, I didn't have a laptop at this time. So it was like, I will write the next time I get a laptop. So obvious, I'm putting it away. I feel like a laptop is a very big thing that I can't afford. So if I can't afford a laptop, then it means I will never write.
Yeah.
But somehow by the end of that year, I think 2019, I got a laptop. So it's like, you don't have any excuse to not write.
Yeah.
And as if that is not enough, towards also the end of the same year, I got a job, like somehow a better job than I had before. So, and then COVID hit. So I'm now 2020 now at home, and the salary was still coming in. So
You have the money, you have the time, you have the laptop, you don't have the excuses now.
yeah, so they are all out, and then it is you in the house, and this is it. So I think I didn't have any more excuse. I couldn't tell God. Anyway, I still have this to do. So it's like, so it was me and my laptop in the house, and I wrote. And I wrote.
And you wrote.
And I wrote. And the book, like, I think towards my aim at that, when I started writing, was like, I will have published by December. I think COVID came in March. So it's like, by December, we'll have published.
Yeah.
That was the goal now. But no, I wrote, and then I have now the raw manuscript. How do I say this manuscript is a book in a shelf somewhere? So that was another now transition from a raw manuscript to the book. Because the first place I submitted it, the quotation I was given for editing and eventual publishing was out of this world. I didn't have that amount of money.
Give us an estimate, just so that since we're trying to publish, we know.
It was...
How much? You give us an estimate. Give us an estimate. Between what
Hey,
and
you're
what?
really pushing that, but
I'm curious.
Okay. It was between 100 and 150 Kenyan. 100 or 150
This is
Kenyan
just to
shillings.
get it like edited.
Edited and designed, so you only have the final copy, and then you need to go now for printing. So
it's not
the
inclusive
printing
of
cost
printing
wasn't
costs.
part of that.
So self-publishing was the best way to go.
So, and then that was actually a firm that was helping you do self-publishing, because at the end of the day, they didn't have any royalties. So when they give you the final clean draft and you go and now reprint, you have all the 100%
All
rights.
right. Yeah, all the rights are now
Yes.
still yours.
One of the reasons why I never chose to go through the traditional way of publishing was because of the back and forth between publishers. One of the things is when it comes to creative writings, most of the publishers don't go for that because in the also market of it, for them they are looking into what sells first. So the other parties, most of the mainstream publishers have maybe very few editors. So an editor will like have to read 100 manuscripts in a day. So they maybe read the first chapter and the last one, and then maybe if they don't accept it, you don't even get feedback. So you think there's still a chance, and it doesn't. So at this point, my patience had really worn out. I wasn't willing to submit myself to that kind of situation. So I was like, maybe traditional publishing is not my way. Traditional publishing, for those who don't know, is the use of now the publishers, and then you get royalties to your book. Also, the other part was the money that the royalties most of the publishers were paying. It is between 10, yenye imelipa vizuri sana ni 20%.
Like, you pay them that?
No, they will take up, when they take up your book,
so for every sale?
Yes, you get 20%.
Oh, you get 20%?
Yes.
It's not them who get, I thought it, okay, wait. I thought when you publish and you have like the publisher's name, should I use an example? An example of a publisher is like EABL.
Yes. East African
Literature Bureau. ELB.
Kuna KLB, Kenya Literature Bureau.
That's what I was going for actually. Kenya Literature Bureau. So you mean to tell me that they would get 80% of the proceeds from your book? If you sell this one copy for 800 shillings, they get 80% and you get 20%.
Yes. And that is a very kind publisher.
Really?
They are paying 10, 12, 15.
I did not. I thought it was the other way around because the rights are yours.
No. Wow. No, under the use of royalties, you're paid royalties. Royalties is that percentage. So depending on what is in your agreement when they are taking up your book, so that is the amount of money you'll be getting. Okay. Reasoning behind it, they say they will take up the cost of like editing, designing, and printing, and also
distribution as well.
Yes, there are people who buy a book because it's a KLB book.
Right.
So their name is also on the right.
Their brand is part of it. Wow.
The advantage to the author is also like it takes that burden off you.
Absolutely.
So you just continue writing
you
without.
Write, you give it to them. You sell it. You get your royalties.
So that is. But I was like, no, I'm not going to go for that. So for some reason, at the beginning, I had already decided I'm not going through traditional way of publishing. So
props on you for that. Woo, my coffee.
Thank you. So the self-publishing there was now the farm that I've talked about where I submitted my own manuscript the first time. I won't mention the name, just for...
You just keep us guessing.
Yeah.
It's fine.
So with that, I had my raw manuscript. And then I paid the first... I still thought I can go through it.
Yeah.
There's that part of me that tells me you can do anything. Like, money shouldn't limit you. As much as I didn't have it at that point, I was willing to negotiate a higher purchase. How I pay, lipa mdogo mdogo.
Yeah.
So I paid my first installment, which was, the agreement was for them to do the editing. The evaluation, they wanted to tell me the areas in which I need to improve before it moves to editing. But now, the report I got, I still remember up to date. I was so tired when I got from work in the evening, and then I received an email. And I'm like, I don't have the energy to read this email now. I'll read it in the morning. So when I woke up the following day, it was on a Friday, so I read the email on a Saturday morning. Okay. It was so devastating because it had trashed the whole manuscript. There was not even a single point that was positive. I still have that email saved.
When you need some anger to keep you pushing. You're not going to read the email.
To remind me where I have come from.
The haters were hearing.
So I remember I called the manager of the farm and I made noise and I was like, anyway, I accept maybe there are mistakes, but why there wasn't even a small thing you want to mean. And this was now from the first time I took a pen, remember, after high school, to the time where I'm submitting it was almost 6 years, 6 or 7 years later. So I'm like, something I've done over these years, you can't just read it in maybe 2 weeks and
trash it completely.
So I felt like they lacked the heart, the humane part of it wasn't.
Did they have some constructive notes even, or was it just wrong, bad?
Yeah, you can do this, you can say this part doesn't resonate with the current audience. So, and then I was like, anyway, I could have maybe them asked, why do you do this? What was your thinking behind this? So there was no such a discussion. Yeah. So combining it with how expensive it was, I was like, no.
You were outraged.
I'm not willing to. Let me count my losses and move on. So in all this period, when I'm going off and on, one of the other constant reminder of my gift of writing was my mom. Yeah. My mom would call out of the blue moon, I forgot I write, and then she's like, how is your book coming? And I'm like, Mom, I can't tell, have not written it.
Good job keeping her accountable.
So she really, a part of it, I wanted to do it because she kept on reminding me that you need to do this, you need to do this.
She believed in you so much.
She does. Wow. Now, she actually, when it came out, she was like, now you can write about how to publish a book.
She even sees the content for you now.
Yeah, because she was like, you have gone through so much in between.
It's true. You literally, this is content for, you see how you've written, this is like a coming of age story. Maybe it helps you navigate your teen years. Mm-hmm. Now you have content for navigating if you want to be a writer, let me give you this semi-fictional story of how tricky it is and the positive sides that you could come from.
I had not seen it that way.
Well.
Okay, so yeah. So the next part, I stumbled on a webinar that was hosted by, I can't remember the name, it's a very popular bookshop in Nairobi. Mm-hmm. I think one of the biggest. So they had organized, I think I saw it on Facebook, and I'm this person like, I'm free, there is something I can learn from here, so why not?
Let me try.
So I logged in and I listened. True to the word, that speaker of that day was mine. Because the speaker was talking about self-publishing.
Wow.
And I was like, it came at the right time.
Like things just aligned.
So he talked about how you can look for your own personal editor, and then he talked about the publishing journey and how the government of government of Kenya supports self-publishing. So I don't know if a book has a barcode at the back of the book, and that barcode is what shows like you own the rights or something. Like someone can't take away that from you. So you need to get that barcode from the government. Yeah. Just to say this, in the previous quotation, on that description it was quoted 45,000 Kenyan shillings.
For just the
barcode alone.
Right. Whoa. Is that expensive?
To my surprise, when this speaker was speaking, was like, you don't need anyone to do this. Go to the website, to the Kenya National Library's website, and there's a part for authors, an application of the barcode. And I was like, how does it hurt me? I Googled.
Yeah, let me try.
Do you know how much I paid?
Surprise me.
1,500.
I thought you'd even say 5K. You paid 1,500?
Actually, when I realized it's 1,500, I paid instantly. I was willing to lose 45K. And 1,500. Hata kama wanani scam, 1,500 is
what
nothing.
What is that? Is that even 3? That's like 3% of... Wow.
And I paid, and immediately they were supposed now to respond because it's the person who receives the application on the other end.
Yeah.
And then,
I'm in shock.
So it didn't come instantly. So in my part, because of it, I was willing to lose it because it was an experimental thing. At midnight, I received an email now from the official site, the Kenya National Library's site, and then a personal email from the person who handled my case with an apology for taking too long to reply. And it was like, there was an issue with the system. And And I was like, seriously, with how I distrust the government, like this was so. And this lady was kind to say, if you have any issue, like, because now the email, the Kenya National Library email had instructions. The barcode was already attached, but they said they were giving me 2 months to be ready to no, the book to be out, and I needed to take 2 copies. Like, to finish the whole process, you need to take 2 copies to the Kenya National Libraries, and they give you now a certificate of ownership for the book.
Wow.
So 2 months was enough for me to do editing and all this other stuff. But this lady was like, if you find any challenge in the process,
call me.
With her personal number. And I was like, wow.
Wow.
So I think that was now... like an angel came, like something that boosted me. So from there, I went to my Facebook and I advertised for a job. I am looking for an editor.
The process of self-publishing is
so I got like over 50 applicants, and I was like, Miss, I'm a CEO now. I'm interviewing people.
Jina kubwa. I'm interviewing people.
But I was so shy to interview that I went through them. Some of them had attached CVs or their previous work they had done. So I didn't do a lot of shortlisting and stuff. I just picked the one I felt my gut was telling me go with this one. Yeah. So the rest, sorry if you applied, because you never received even a regret. I just deleted the advert.
Yeah, the ad, so that you don't get any more applications. You are overwhelmed.
Yes, no. I used to wake up in the morning and they're like over 10 up. I'm like,
yeah, she was CEO, CFO, HR, writer. It's been
all that.
A lot.
And then
you hear how tricky that process is.
So the one I settled with did the editing, and then I looked for a designer, and then they designed the book, and I got the final soft copy. Yeah. And I'm like, this was, I think, within a month now. Yeah. The editing was very fast. When you get someone who is willing to, as long as you pay, they work on, like, they are disciplined when it comes to their work. Yeah. So within 1 month, that was done. Like, I had now the final copy in soft. So I just needed to print. Yeah. So I think the only expensive part was the printing a bit, because there was the option. The speaker I had listened to during the webinar where I mentioned, he talked about the Kenya National Library website. He had mentioned about printing in China. Actually, that they say is cheaper. Yeah. But now, remember your village girl here trying to cross oceans, and then I was like, no, I still believe maybe we still have quality printers in our country. Yeah. So Mimi, huyo River Road.
Made in Kenya. River Road.
Yeah, and I got a printer. Like, she was recommended by someone. Like, just go to this shop and just say what you want. So I said, and like, okay, can give you quotations. So I did the first print of 500 copies, and obvious. So now printing depends with, do you want is your book in color? Does it have graphics inside?
So like details.
Yes. So different depending on how your book is different prices. So I can't quote and tell you this book will be printed at this much. It is customized to what you want. But now they did the first print. Like, I left down. I had money that time, so I paid my down payment, and then they said they will be done within a week. So they gave me a date to pick. Maybe I'm just there. But they gave me the first copy that day because they needed me to approve the work they were going to do. And I was so excited. I was just, finally, I saw myself in a book cover. And maybe it didn't matter whether I'm going to make sales. I was just like, finally, my dream have come true.
Your vision is a solid thing that you can hold. This is her book, guys. You can absolutely get it from the information we're going to leave in the description below. It's called A Girl in Her Own World. A Girl in Her Own World.
A Girl Lost in Her Own World.
A Girl Lost in Her Own World. And you can access it, you can buy it from her. We leave all the information that you need for it in the description below. So I just want us to take a quick break. We show you more of her work and other things that Eunice has been doing, especially with the Rotary clubs. Then we can come talk about that as we wrap up. See ya! We are back. Thanks for joining us for the next segment of the podcast. And we've just been talking to Eunice about her fantastic book, A Girl Lost in Her Own World, and her journey self-publishing it and reaching out to the teenage audience. It's a coming-of-age story. Definitely check it out. But now we want to talk about your other work. You said you're a teacher, an artist, and a humanitarian. Now let's talk about the humanitarian side. So you told us you've done some work with the Rotary Club, and we want you to tell us more about it, what kind of work, and some of the nice things you've managed to lead through this club.
All right. The exciting part of me, I said humanitarian at heart.
Ooh.
Yes, so Rotary International is a humanitarian volunteer organization. Mm-hmm. Membership is by subscription. Mm-hmm. Let me not leave that out. Mm-hmm. So I joined Rotary International when I was in campus. Mm-hmm. When I was talking about the book, I said I took a break for the 4 years when I was in campus. So I found Rotary, in institutions like colleges and campuses or universities. Yeah. They are called Rotaract clubs. So those Rotaract clubs are both in institutions like universities and colleges, mm-hmm. and then they are also community-based. So you can also find them not as affiliated to any institution, but they target the youth. That was the original idea of Rotaract, the youth. Actually, the motto is Rotary in Action, because now they are younger, they are energetic, and they can do more work. So I joined Rotary when I was in second year. That is 2014. So my main aim was also, apart from now I wasn't doing writing, I knew freedom. Like, there's a lot of time in campus, because now classes you find maybe you have 3 at most in a day. So there's a lot of free time in between, and also on weekends there's nothing to do. So I found Rotaract is a way of now using my extra time. Yeah. So these we did a lot of now projects then, because generally, just in a nutshell, Rotary International does it. Okay. Sorry for that.
In a nutshell?
Yeah, in a nutshell, Rotary International does a lot of humanitarian activity. So we have 8 areas of focus. Mm-hmm. I hope I can remember all of them, but I'll mention those that come off in my head. Let's see how many
you remember.
Yes, so there's environment, there is maternal health, there is disease eradication, there is water and sanitation, basic literacy, and peace and reconciliation, which is the other one.
You have 2 left. You're at 6 out of 8.
Okay, yeah. So if the rest, you can find them.
Almost 80%.
Yes.
Okay, Mwalimu.
You can find them on Rotary website. There's rotary.org.
We will link it in the description as
well. So the main areas of focus. But generally, a club finds challenges in their community or where they are, and now find solution, customize the solutions to those problems. You find in different areas there might be a common problem. For example, there is no water, but now this an area maybe somewhere in Nyeri and somewhere in Turkana. So maybe how you solve that problem is a club in Nyeri will solve maybe the water problem by maybe piping water from a river. But now, if someone in Turkana, there might be no river, so maybe you do a borehole. So the challenge might be the same, but how it's solved is different. So club
tailoring the solutions to the community that it serves.
Yes, that you serve. So, but now as a Rotaract, we did like maybe in campus, we did our own small. I don't want to call them very small, but they were just what our maybe pockets would support or would make to
Don't worry,
do.
It's not
So-
small. It's not small. It's you did what you
What
had
you
with the
could at that
resources
that
you
time.
had.
And I had the best of my time as a volunteer because we did a lot of maybe children's home visit. You know, there's menace on negligence of kids. So we would visit children's home, we would talk to these kids, we would mentor them. So those were some of the
What
things
are
we
some
did.
other initiatives you've
Others we did that is mostly on education, because
Yeah.
when it comes to kids, the area of focus that we were doing was
Yeah.
education. We also did things on all activities on health or disease eradication, mostly Rotary majors on polio. So Rotary is one of the international bodies that donates money towards polio eradication in the world. So that is specifically, I think, that area of currently, that is the main focus. You're focusing on eradicating polio in the world. But now when it comes to other aspects of health, I have participated in raising awareness on cancer, like mostly the women, the cancers that mostly affect women, such as cervical cancer, breast cancer. And when it came to men, we also did a lot of sensitization on prostate cancer.
Yeah.
So I remember when I was in campus, the then first lady of Machakos, it's in public domain. When I say the then first lady of Machakos, you know who I'm talking about. She was also very big on cancer awareness. So at some point, the Rotary Club, we partnered with Machakos County to, as young people would go out and tell people, early detection leads to cure. As much as, yes, I'm not a medic, so to tell you it's not a death sentence, but the basic information that would be passed. But every time we did this, there were medics supporting the program. So on technical issues, they would go to medics. That is basically what we did when I was in campus, apart from having fun, because as much as Rotary does a lot of humanitarian part, people will ask you, what is in it for me? So this professional development, we have at least 2 meetings per month for any standard Rotary or Rotaract Club. In these meetings, they are popularly known in the Rotary world as fellowships. Fellowships bring together professionals, and then you might have a speaker of an area of your choosing, might be on finance, might be on health, might be on law or something. So it helps you in this, when bringing these speakers helps you to grow professionally. And also the members are professionals, so me as a teacher will meet a doctor, I'll meet a lawyer, I'll meet
networking as
yes,
well is really strong.
yes. So networking is also very, very strong. It helps to break the protocol, because in a way, if I'm a teacher, maybe I'm a teacher, but maybe in a club I walk into, there's an MCA or there's a senator. So we are both members of Rotary International. So in that time, I won't have to go through a PA or something to go through to get to the governor if he's the one seated there.
You're like, oh, I know a guy.
Now we are peers, you know.
You're peers
So
in this setting.
So it breaks that. And then, so
and
then there's fun, because there's, apart from fellowship, I've said they made their meetings, then there are things we call swallowships. Swallowship is where you're swallowing, so you have something that
like a meeting to eat.
Yes.
It is.
Yeah, it is. You have something, so you are swallowing, no wonder they are called swallowships. So there will be something to eat, something to drink, and now you can network, you can have fun, because anyway, everyone needs to rewind.
Yeah.
So we say, if it's not fun, it's not Rotary.
Yeah.
So there have to be fun involved. So at that point, I think I networked with people. Some I've made long life friendships. Networks, they say you're I can't remember the quotation if I can say it, but your network is your net worth. Yes. So and say if you have a problem, by the time you're calling the third person, you should have solved your problem. So networking, there's a lot of that. But after graduating, I went to the Rotary Club of Naivasha. That is where I transitioned to from campus.
Yeah.
And there in campus, I just served the community. I love, that is my passion. That is where I am.
Yes.
But now when I transition, now I also found leadership. Because that is the other thing, like now Rotary is big one. Because leadership in Rotary, as the name suggests, is rotational. So leadership lasts for 1 year. So after 1 year, the whole board changes. So there are high chances of you being a leader. And we say every Rotarian, every Rotaractor is a leader in their own capacity.
Yeah. So did you find leadership or did leadership find you?
I think it was meant to be. I don't know if I found it or not. But due to the structure, I was bound to at some point be a leader. But growing up, I struggled with finding my voice in a village somewhere where people, you're a girl, you're trying to figure out so much. So I never thought I would actually, and I'm a middle child, so who am I leading? Who am I? So I struggled with finding my voice. Who is Eunice? Can I actually tell people something and people to listen? So I served as the club secretary for 3 consecutive years.
Wow.
And towards the end of my 3rd year as a secretary, the 3rd year I coupled up as a secretary as also the PR director of the club. So the club image in the social media, and I'm also not very good in social media, but then I'm thrown into the deep end. So I needed to know how the club is represented.
Yeah.
So my little knowledge on PR, and I got it there. And then the same year I was the PR, I was nominated to be the incoming club president.
Wow.
So after serving for PR for 1 year, I became the club president.
Guys,
so
big names over here.
Yeah, the structure.
Come out, remember.
The structure is
Still
like
though.
they have the structure.
Take your flowers.
I receive them. It's not easy for me to be on the rim, right? I still struggle with that, despite me being called president somewhere.
President.
Yeah, so this is where I actually maybe found really my voice, that I could actually tell people something. I could plan a whole project, and this is, I'm reading people, and this is what we are doing, and people will be like, yes. And in our club, then we had people with various professions. I had engineers, I had, which are other big, there are other fellow teachers. I had, I think, a lawyer or something. So at some point, you feel like you being a teacher against an engineer. In our socialization, an engineer might have more say than a teacher.
Imposter syndrome starts hitting.
Yeah, so I'm like, how do I tell an engineer do this? And they actually listen. But at this point, I think I remember just one incident. I know when my then members listened to this. It's funny. Because I remember one day we had done a project and we did T-shirts. Like, we actually branded the event. The event was an environmental project. So we had 3 phases. We were doing, first phase was training the community and teaching people about environment, conserving it, proper disposal of waste, both solid and liquid. So, and then the second phase was a river cleanup. So we take away the waste. We are cleaning up this, but we have already trained you how to proper disposal, so it doesn't have to come back. Yeah. And then the third way was now rehabilitation, which came with planting of trees, making sure that the river thrives again. So we had done, it was so big, we had partnered with UNEP. So the project is called Adapt a River. So we had branded T-shirts around the project. So, and then there was this meeting, and I had told everyone, those T-shirts had been given for free by the club to the members. So I told people, for this meeting, everyone has to come branded with that specific T-shirt, nothing else. But now, remember, these are volunteers. So you're like, anyway, if they don't do it, what can? Like, what so they have to have accepted you as their leader to actually do what you're telling them without the consequences attached to it. In any way, there is nothing I could have done to them.
No threats attached, no nothing, just your influence.
So that is actually the moment that I affirmed, or I realized, actually, these people respect me, these people listen. Because we got to the meeting, and there was this lady who had come, had the T-shirt, but had a hoodie on top. But when she showed me, akatoa the hoodie just to prove like she's
like I have it. I
have it. Like I'm okay. And I was like, wow, if you never wore it, I couldn't have. Yeah, it would have been okay. But then I felt, and everyone in that meeting came branded. I think that was the moment I realized that now this. And I believe now that is my journey in leadership. Currently, I moved from Rotaract to Rotary. They are both under the same umbrella body, but they are different clubs. So now I'm in Rotary. The club is Rotary Waridi. I'm the current president of the club. So the club is young, so we are looking to do a lot of things to the community. We are service-oriented club. We do. I'll share one thing that we did on Valentine's.
Okay, wrap it up with this one thing for Valentine's. We'd love to hear it, and if you have pictures, we want those ones too.
So on Valentine's, those of us who are single.
Hey, why are you shouting?
Anyway, we decided as a club to celebrate this love day with people maybe in the society are mostly forgotten. People don't really appreciate them, or they are not seen mostly.
People who need the love.
Yes, we felt they actually needed that more. So the people, Annie has just educated me, they are people with disability. Yes. Just to note, I want to educate you too. It's not people living with, it's people with disability.
Thank you. Good job. Teacher, you're a good learner.
We were talking about that before the interview, so Annie had just told me that. So we spent time with kids in a school, come home, called Ubuntu Life Foundation. You can also check out their website and their social media, just Ubuntu Life Foundation. They deal with kids with disability.
It's an adjustment. You're doing great.
So, and it is the most purest form of joy and love from these kids. How they appreciated it, and I was so fulfilled that I knew me being in Rotary and me serving the community, I'm actually in the right place. It might be the smallest part, like just buying one stalk of roses, and you creating time to go just see them, pray with them, and you being present. It might look very simple from the outside, but for those kids, it means the world. So for that, it affirmed my reason for being there. That is one of the smallest. We also, the people do big or huge project. When I say big, or some are classified due to money or the magnitude or the people they are reaching. But the point is, when it comes to Rotary and service, it is the community that you come from, what are the challenges they are going through, and how best can you solve them. And we don't come up with the solutions. It is they are community oriented. So the people tell you, how would we want this done? So we work together through solving that problem. Maybe eventually the people themselves can actually take themselves out of that problem.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, that was lovely. Guys, I told you we don't miss with our guests. As you've heard, she's told us about all that she does. Advocacy through service, advocacy through leadership, advocacy through her art. It's amazing. Women are absolutely phenomenal. You want to give us a parting shot? Give us a parting shot? Throw your advice, talk to your people, give some shout outs, plug yourself, and then wrap it up.
My parting shot on this will be, I'm trying to bring everything I do to one thing. And my passion in everything is to the youth, from teenage to young people. When I write, like my book, I've said my target was young girls, but the book have been enjoyed by both boys, because they also get to get the perspective of you're a boy, but you get to see how do girls think. So it has also been enjoyed by parents. So in that line, I'm also a teacher of teenagers. So I love maybe advising them and maybe helping or holding hand through their challenges.
Yeah, and you're also facilitating for their parents to have these tough conversations
with them. With them, because not to go through me and my fight with my mom. They can find another way to solve that. But also in my community work, I find a lot of this teenage, there was the pandemic. When there was COVID, there was another silent pandemic, that is teenage pregnancy. And there was a lot of sexual violence to women and also men to some extent. But now my main focus is on, my advocacy is on teenage girls specifically when it comes to sex education and how best they can go through it, as well as now I find them not only in school but also in my community work. Because most of them, as much as our current, just to note this, our current encourages if a girl gets pregnant at the age of she's in school, maybe in high school or even in primary, they have a chance to go back to school. That shouldn't be denied.
Yes.
So then there are those who now, for some other reasons, maybe they don't have anyone to leave the kids with, they drop out totally. So that maybe the educational journey is there. And they now become vulnerable to other vices. They might be married off young. They might end up into some other like prostitution and other stuff just to make ends meet, because they're now raising a baby, their kids. So how else can we empower these girls to continue with their lives even after this? It might have been a mistake. Sometimes it's also not lack of information, or maybe the society is not supporting them well enough. Or it's that confusion, they don't know if they are kids or they are adults. They're just there trying to figure out life. And for us, we see them as adults. So how best can we support our girl child at teenagehood, at youthfulness, and how to navigate this journey called life. So if you can just talk to one girl to make her life better, just one. My learning code, don't imagine 20, 30, a whole classroom or even a crowd, just one. Just one. I think I've won already. I've not become rich through selling this book, but I've already gotten feedback.
Not yet.
From that one girl I was writing for. And I'm so glad that I wrote the book. You might be the girl. You might be a parent to the girl. Get them there. Just that one girl. Get the book. Thank you.
Oh, wow. I mean, I couldn't have said it better myself. If you had it from the horse's mouth, that's what I like to say. And that's lovely. Your students must be so lucky to have you. And we really appreciate you coming on the show, talking to us about what you've created and, your goals and your achievements. It's very admirable, and we wish you all the best in your work. Please do more. We invite you again to Dada Next Door. We talk about your next edition.
Oh, and yeah, definitely.
We're waiting for that content.
I'm in the oven. Pre-warming it.
Oven.
Yeah, it's getting warm, and maybe hopefully, yes. And if you want to join Rotary, yes.
We leave the information where you can ask all your questions down below. Yeah.
And if your questions are many, I can just come back here and answer them,
Ooh, special, she said. I hope Rotaract is sponsoring this episode, we'll talk behind the tent.
Maybe the next door is
sponsoring
a project.
Well. We'll see what we can do. Thanks again for joining us, guys. Interact with her content down below, and we hope to see you on the next episode of Dada Next Door. For now, I've been your host, Annie Agesa, and this is Eunice. Eunice, say bye.
Bye.
Bye.